So I thought about it, that this is to do with the presidency. And to put it straight to you, I will be spoiling my vote, regardless if the Pope himself came to me now and said to vote for one of the candidates. I would rather jump the lake. As you know, we have three candidates for the presidency. All of them are useless. Let's be fair. First of all, I start with Catherine Connolly. Catherine Connolly calls herself an independent. She might as well be Sinn Féin, the Labour Party, Social Democrats. And now I thought about picking my poison in terms of the three candidates. Which one is that you're going to be poisoned either way? So pick one poison and you'll be poisoned, I suppose. And I was thinking about Catherine because I wouldn't vote for Fianna Fáil to get even if they paid me. But yeah, Catherine Connolly not a hope because pretty much, in my definition, if you are an independent, you look for the independent votes. You don't go running to Sinn Féin or to the Labour Party, Social Democrats, to go looking for votes for them to back you in the presidential election. She shouldn't have done that. Only for if she'd done that, maybe I would have voted, but I won't do it because none of them in Dáil or Shannon Devon represents you or me, the Irish people, who have to get up in the morning. They're only for themselves. They're for their back pockets, for the money they get. That's all they care about. And the whole idea of the presidency should be abolished. The whole presidency should be abolished. That should be the next referendum. Should we abolish the presidency? Because it's only a waste of money. It's €350,000 for the president's salary, not to exclude the upkeep of hours and the big dinners, etc., the expenses, the travel expenses, etc. And not to mention all the staff they have, which is about €10 million or so a year. So it's a huge amount of money. Would it not be beneficial to go to young Irish people and helping them secure housing and stuff? Would that not be the best use of that money? And on the other hand too, the President of Ireland has very fucking little say in any fucking thing. Excuse my language. But they would do nothing. Even if all three of them were in, they're going to sign whatever the government puts in front of them. They will sign. They will not question the government. Michael Higgins never questioned the government on anything. Anything they put in front of him, he signed. We signed without even questioning, without even checking, is this against the Irish Constitution or is this the right thing to do for the country? He never questioned it, never said one thing to the Supreme Court. He did one time, he convened the Council of State, but pretty much they said the same. They were hardly going to say to him, no, I don't agree, because these are former Taoiseachs, captain ministers. They were hardly going to go and spike their nose. The people paying their pensions and stuff, they're not going to do that. But yeah, it's a whole farce. The second reason why I'm spoiling my vote is because the country's in a mess. The country's gone to hell. We have young people who are leaving in their droves to Australia, never to return. Young Irish people, why we bring in the world and give them everything. It doesn't make any sense. Immigration is a joke in this because we're paying people to leave. We're paying people 10,000 to leave. Not to mention in the house, and there's so many young people I know. They're struggling, and they're working, and these people are going out and doing a day's work. And then there's asylum seekers getting everything handed them. It doesn't make any sense. But there's young people I know and they're trying to pay their rent, they're trying to get a car, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. And they simply can't do it because the government is out to fuck them in every conceivable way. And the only option they have is to go. And it's such a sad state of affairs because we're using our greatest people and people who have degrees. Like a lot of young Irish people have degrees and they can't use them in this country because it's fuck all useless. And not to mention the homeless crisis, there's nothing that's changed. The numbers have gone up and up and up and up. There's no sign of them ever going down. And the government has failed in that category. Then crime and stuff, we could sit here for the next 7 hours and name off everything the government has done. But pretty much, the whole idea of the presidency too is a joke. Because you need the backing of the people that Joe Budden gets to go for the presidency. You can't just turn up and want to run for the presidency. That's democracy. When you put your name forward, you can go for the presidency. That's what it should be. Instead of this carry on when you have to run to us, you have to run to the TDs, you have to run to the local authorities. And the majority of the local authorities control Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, the mainstream political parties. And there's no way in hell they would back an independent fellow or an independent woman. There's no way they would do it. About that because it's all about greed. They're too mean. As the word is, they're too fucking mean, and they're too worried about their fucking position, and they're too worried about their fucking money. And the whole idea of politics now, it's rotten in this country. The whole foundations of this country, the whole system is rotten. The whole system is to get the only Irish person, and that's the reason why we should turn against the system. And that's the only way we can turn against the system. And the media and the media won't show this. The mainstream media will glance over this and hopefully they will just run away and not address this issue. But the only way to do it is to stick it in their face. And what I mean by that is if 200,000 people went out to put an X or put Maria Stevenson's name on a ballot or even just an X or whatever, draw a house, draw a whatever, draw something on the ballot or whatever, you wanted to write a poem or something on the ballot. The only way to do that, because everything counts as a spoiled vote if you do anything like that, it's a separate tick in the box. And the only way to do it is stick it to the establishment and for them to shiver a bit is say 200,000 people go out. Like, I'm going to go out. I'd be nearly the first person at my ballot station to spoil my vote. And I had to go to work. The rest of these fucking politicians sit down at the home and do nothing. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down at 7 o'clock in the morning to spoil my vote. And if you know, and I know people would say, you should participate in democracy, you should do it. But this is the thing, democracy doesn't give a shit about me. The Irish state does not give a shit about you or me. Simple as that. The only time they give a shit when the election comes around, and after that they don't give a shit. The general election was nearly a year ago, last November. And nothing has changed. I don't feel it any better in my pocket. The government say, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that. They're doing fuck all. The only thing I see is the asylum seekers getting everything handed to them. Irish people are getting nothing. I see so many Irish people that have nothing. They have nothing, but asylum seekers can walk around with their Nike shoes and Nike runners, etc., etc. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make any sense. but that's including some people on the door. I don't know how they get the money for, but you know, it's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. Like, it really, really is. The whole state of this country. There's no hope for anybody in this country. There's no hope for any young Irish person coming out of college, coming out of secondary school, to get a good job, to get a good paying job, get a small, even just nothing too fancy, an apartment or whatever, and get it at a decent rate a week. But people are paying outrageous. People are paying literally the whole salaries to be just in an apartment, and they're not even there half of the week. Like, take for example me, I'm not even here half of the time too, but thankfully it's not as bad as some people. But I'm not even here half the time. I'm away 40 hours a week. And then you're out and about, so give or take maybe 50 hours a week. And you have very little time at home. You're only pretty much paying for an empty house pretty much majority of the time. Majority of people who are working. But what I'm trying to say, the whole idea of me spoiling my vote, and I thought about it, and I've thought about it very deeply, is the only way to do it is to spoil your vote. And just to say to the government, fuck you. And that's the way we should be, because we should be throwing it back in their face. Because none of the three candidates represent the Irish people, have no interest in the Irish people. And that's as simple as that. Heather Humphreys, as was just simple, Catherine Connolly. In fairness to Fine Gael, they put the best person they could have put, because Francis Fitzgerald and Maureen McGuinness selling the country off to Europe would have been a nightmare. And then don't even get me started on Jim Gavin, because I don't know what to tell you about that man. But it's all just a farce, to be told. It's all just a farce. That's why I propose the next referendum should be the abolishment of the presidency. We should be abolishing it as quick as possible to get rid of them. Because they're all no good. The presidency's no good. But yeah, I'm just disgusted. And to be told, the word is disgusted. I'm disgusted. I don't give a shit about myself. I couldn't care less. When you go through what I did when I was younger, you couldn't give a shit. The government could do their best. But I care about the young Irish people. The young Irish people who can't get anything. I see it all the time. I see people who I went to school with. They're doing their best, and you can see that they're trying their best. I can see they're trying to put an effort in it, to try and get somewhere. But the state keeps hitting them back down again. Like, every time they take a step forward, the state comes along and kicks them down again. It's a disgrace, and it is a disgrace, and it's such a sad disgrace, because the next generation is going to be worse, and that's the thing. And we have to fight for our children. It's not for ourselves. We shouldn't worry about ourselves anymore. We should worry about our children. And simple as that. Like, the hell with ourselves. We should worry about our children, because they're the next generation. Because my generation's probably fucked. So why the fuck should we care? We should worry about the next generation and fight every day against this tyrannical government to make sure they have what we didn't have. And that's what I say. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe more and bye.